Cut content from previous games in the Halo series are planned to be modded into Halo MCC in the near future. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Sigmas and Gamers, and today, or basically recently, we just got another blog from Halo Waypoint that basically covers like some of the recent news, that some of the cut content that you saw like in previous games, such as like from the teaser trailers back in Halo 1 and Halo 2. So you saw like the original designs of the elites and bipeds and the original old Master Chief design, and plus us the demo version of Halo 2 that you saw back in E3 of 2003 are now being planned to be put into MCC, even thanks to the hard works from from the modders of the Halo community. And like I say, pretty exciting stuff. And without any further ado, let's go and dive right into this. And while I'm also breaking down this video, I'm not gonna just show a little video of me just like breaking everything down, but also trying to narrate this stuff and just breaking things down. I will be playing clips in this video as well. And so yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and right dive into this, shall we? So so based on the blog by Alex Wakeford, we have a very special treat for you this month. Something that becomes part of the greatest journey of Halo fans is learning about all the stuff that did not make it into the games over the years. When ambitious and talented developers are up against the challenges posed by limited times and resources, having to make tough decisions about what best serves the final product, many things ended up the horrifying 10th circle of hell, which Dante deemed too terrifying to tell us about the cutting room floor. And with this harrowing domain lies ambient life that will never roam free, so rip Porky, lies dialogue and sound effects that will never be heard, NPCs who exist in a nightmare state of non-existence through concept art and models, and capable of motion, weapons that will never be fired, vehicles that will never be taken to the skies and seas, even the geometry of the entire levels. And sometimes, however, a light may be shining through the darkness to reveal a world beyond on the game proper, and that is what we have in store for you this month, in a three-part exploration of some of the deep Halo history, which will proceed as follows. Part 1, the cutting room floor, which we will learn more about the old cut content from 1999's Macworld era Halo Combat Evolved and Halo 2 that is being restored. And cutting room corpse, meaning the fine folks that have been working to revive the old content and learn more about their work. And the cutting room lore, the special encyclopedia style canon fodder issue, providing more details on how certain elements from these past games are incorporated into the universe and canon. So therefore, we are joined by Kenneth Peters, senior franchise writer, for a deep dive into the worlds beyond the ones we have come to know over in the last 20 years, an exploration of many things that did not make it into Halo CE and Halo 2, which haven't seen the light of day until now. So first, we're going to dig into what is the content and its historical significance, and then we will talk about it a bit more and the road of getting your hands on it to experience yourself through leveraging the tireless work it continues to go into expanding the support and capacity for modding in Halo the Master Chief Collection, or Halo MCC. And then, so yeah, looks like the mic is now going to be handed over to Ken, and here's what he's going to have to say about this. So in the darkest depths of 343 Industries, intranet is a folder devoid of light, bereft of hope, swarming with corruption that even the Flood recoil from in fear. It contains treasures for those willing to plumb its depths and wrestle with the ruins of old dreams and Halo references. And its name is, let's say, directory share, Halo 1. Must be some kind of directory traversal that they're doing right there. So the Halo 1 folder is a complicated beast, and over the decades it has suffered from everything from the corporate schisms but to its rot. To bit rot. For the last few years, I have been sticking my toes in there as part of our franchise team's documentation and archival efforts. It would look around to pull design good document for PSD, anything that people were looking for, then escape before the darkness closed in. The change in 2021 after I returned to Budapest, when I started a more methodical and structured approach to recovering as much of the Halo source files as possible, and with the help of Sean Cooper on the publishing team, better known as the community of Corman. So before we start, let's get into the nitty gritty, and I must give you a very heartfelt thank you. So Marcus Lejo for this invaluable assistance and provision of assets that filled in so many gaps of our knowledge. So one of the earliest finds we heard were near retail tags for the Crucial Spectre, which were cut from Halo C late in development. This meant tags were fully compatible with Halo C editing kit It and the existing tools could extract the source models and bitmaps for editing. And unfortunately, that does not mean the vehicles were complete, and there are no weapon tags either, and their in-game movement characteristics still needed a lot of work. Both good reasons why they were not included in the final game in the first place. So yeah, here it is. Looks kind of like the Covenant shader, or actually the Shadow, which I believe kind of like saw in Halo 2 back in the day. And so the original name of the Spectre was Shadow. The vehicle that would become the Seraph was originally called Spectre. The original Seraph was also a tank, much smaller, and had side wings. Confused yet? And I'm pretty handy with various CC tools as a function of my job, but not an expert in using the MCC mod package and that content pipeline. So obvious solution is getting these cool finds fully in game. We'll seek out the masters of the modding craft who could help get this content in working order. And after talking to the publishing team, it was clear that they are both a group of experts who could help with the import process of the ever skillful redacted group. And in turns that led me to learning more of Blender to make use of the plugin that would end up dramatically simplifying the whole process. So here it is, the Halo Asset Blender Development Toolset. Let's have a look at it, shall we, before we... Okay, it looks like it's on GitHub. So I'll actually check it out later. So with this group helping out, I got the Spectre and Kestrel in the whatever it's called, the Hachik, and the... I guess we'll call it HCE in a rough form, and within 2 days we had ironed out the main issues with the Spectre and got the Kestrel flying around with studs and weapons. And neither vehicle was in shape where we felt comfortable releasing them widely, but they were in-game and drivable. Well, this also kicked up a lot of interest in the internal group among other 343 employees, as some of the content had previously been about have been in lost forever or not compatible with later build versions, and I expected some interest in this, but the sheer level of enthusiasm really caught me off guard and kickstarted the idea of expanding this effort beyond cleaning up the few leftover tag files. So here it is. Looks like I got some little stuff right here that was cut. I believe it was cut from Halo C, like some of the little in-game aim assets right here, and also this shade right there. Oh yeah, a little Simpsons reference. Not everything comes up Millhouse. Now, this is a really important attempt to the stealth tank shows. So yeah. It doesn't really look kind of finished, so I gotta say this will actually make Nelson Muntz punch a hole in the wall, if you know what I mean, because of Millhouse. Man, that kid was just too fat for my taste. Well, so unfortunately, the scale of the work involved quickly started to become a drag on my spare time as tasks related to infinite support and the power out took precedence. Luckily, I knew just the people of Redacted to ask for help that had the right combination of NDA, love for Halo history, and and the ability to take in complete material and bring it up to the working state in the current retail environment. And so here it is. Look, Dig Site Cruise, it takes a village, and as you can see right here, it looks like we got some of the earlier versions of the original model of Master Chief from Halo Combat Evolved that you probably saw way back in 1999 during like one of the Apple World events, like when it was first teased, and saw like this version of Chief, and then just kind of evolved over time, and we got this final version back in 2001 in the retail version, and I gotta say, looks really cool to see these characters actually in action. So Cyborgs Through the Ages is with their original textures and quirks mapped to the retail skeleton. This does not mean the original Cyborg is scaled up a bit. And even though I was not working content in game, I was pulling files from the Share Halo 1 cave and organizing them. Now that we are finally assembling known good files, more interesting assets started to be found, both original source files and tags. And now we really needed to bring in task focus as experts to help fix the analysis and analyze them. I'm stuttering a little bit. So yeah, we got Master Chief, and we got the Marine, and I've never seen this model before, but I think this could have been one of the earlier versions of the Marines back in the day, during development. But that's just me kind of theorizing at this point. So okay, we have cut assets. But how are they rigged? What animations are available? Will it blow up the engine if they move their head? All questions we need to ask ourselves before blindly importing the model and expecting to do anything in game. I am not an animator, so this is where the outside help was vital. I can't go into details on how the group members were selected, but the results speak for themselves. The Dig Site team created a new animation corrected shaders, made new tags, and adjusted assets to not only get them working, but working pretty darn well. So the numbers of complexity of assets also quickly expand to include cut animations, weapons, maps, and even bipeds as the team flexed their animation, texturing, and tool creation expertise. So here's DigSite right here. Let's see what these guys are up to. So the officially unofficial logo for the codename of our one secret work group. So it must be DigSite right there. That must be the name. And in the middle of this, we also started working on redefining long lost Halo 2 content, starting with the piglet, and then expanding the look and restoring other cut material, resurfacing ideas, and had never been implemented to the retail release. The Share Air Halo 2 archive was in good shape, albeit missing and many work in progress files from the earliest development days. So it was a cleaner process to start standing up content. So I guess it's kind of one of the like little versions, like the small warthog that they had back in the day. Never saw that before, but pretty interesting, I gotta say. The first test ride of the Piglet in my HSeek test environment, I use Halo C to try out things, and it's easy to get vehicles usable and in-game, or should I continue to work on the scoping? So at first, it was the more stress test of a updated Halo 2 editing kit, tools and processes that we ingested in Bungie game engine documentation, but it quickly grew in scope until we eventually had to limit our time on it a little bit, as we are going into a million different directions and our CE work was getting disorganized. So what are we working on, by the way? So what does this mean to be a wider Halo community? The TLDR is that we are working to bring as much of the pre-release content to the community as possible, using the editing kits for Halo MCC, data tags, everything you need to put on these in your own mod, and enough information to get experienced modders, experiment, remix, and even port of the other Halo engines than what they were made for, not other games, aims and all that stuff. So the work's done in this project has already directly fed into improvements for Blender tools, documentation, and editing kit bug fixing, which benefits everyone. If you are weird and not interested in the cool Halo history, and for those only interested in new maps, characters, and assets, we will also have plenty Excite Delight as a big project. We need to be careful of being realistic of our goals, to keep things organized as we are focused on two areas. So the pre-release Halo DigSite Alpha, and this content related Halo from its earliest origins of the RTS as up to the material cut from the retail release, and does mean we are revisiting the new things we are stored in the PC port using more or the original source. Halo 2's development Digital Delta, the sophomore release in the original Halo trilogy, has complicated development, and while we don't have any iterations of the work in progress builds, and we still have to have the wealth of cut material. And when can we get it? Soon. Oh, looks like we're going to get it soon. So we would not be doing this article if we couldn't see this finish line coming up fast. And that said, we don't have specific dates and still need to follow Microsoft and Xbox Game Studio processes and reviews. Even for mod content, the team is not willing to put out half-broken content, so we'll be fixing stuff and making decisions right up to release. So here it is. We got some of the screenshots right here, some of the cut content in here and there. So tweaking the spectre, air shaders are better capture the work in 2000 marketing shots. So what we get, let's see. Oh yeah, so by the way, stand by, we're going to cut this video off for a while and kind of check on something a little bit. So stay put. Alright guys, I'm back, and without further ado, let's go ahead and continue with this breakdown, shall we? Okay, so then he starts off saying that I don't dwell on the negatives. So the short answer is we cannot include what we do not have, and all development files survive the transition from Bungie to 343 or being moved around over the decades. So look at the new original CE Sentinels working files. So yeah, in other cases we have some of the other two reference files, but not a full selection, but we had to plug so many holes in that it ceases to be an original asset and more the reinterpretation. So okay, looks like I got some little textures right here, which looks like probably the wheels of the Warthog, and the only assets I found were Halo 2 variant Warthogs. So yeah, I think that must be like the outer layer of the Warthog and the tires. And and then for the team, we're working on a large amount of content, but a few items are of note either because of how complete they are or the significance of the finds or reconstruction efforts. The RTS era vehicles are very interesting from a historical perspective, but are not going to be easy to integrate and have little in the way of support data, texture, animation, and that look good in first person. So we also don't really know what many we were supposed to do, and as there are no design docs at the era available to us and little in the game mechanics we can glean from early builds, we are still working on these vehicles, but they will require more time in the development oven. So I gotta say, it looks like we got even more assets. That looks like something that could probably be in Halo MCC. But see, earlier Alien Take updated, retextured as an early Covenant vehicle, owned by Marcus in 1999, and hence the purple color where the original texture was range. So yeah, I don't know what that is, but it kind of looks like it has like a more, or it's kind of like a little bit of a seahorse aquatic look to it. Or it's kind of insect-like, like something like that. And then we also got this other asset right here. It looks like some kind of alien or some early version of the UNSC vehicle right there. Or maybe it does look very Covenant, because it says it right here saying the Covenant Fire pod from the RTS era Halo imported using the original source models, or some which are the lightweight format, which brings back good memories of my Sun days. It doesn't have animations or textures, but we can get a hint of the scale that work needed after import. So yeah, it looks like it showed like some of the earlier footages of Halo back when it was just generic sci-fi MMO, which was more of a reskin. And I also got an email. And then so basically kind of like a little bit of a reskin of like a Myth 1 and Myth 2. And then for those who kind of like we're very familiar with the overall history with Bungie Studios and how and just the terrible Myth 2 being some unintentional Trojan horse. And well, kind of get the point, but and hey, it looks like some earlier version of the Scorpion, which I believe looks like something I can definitely picture being in the MMO prototype for Halo back in the day. So one of the many iterations self to take of the Scorpion evolution of Halo march towards the version that we know and love today, created by Marcus Letho. The model Geo is in good shape, but everything else, physics, yada yada, we could have built from scratch. It is shown here as an example of an asset we'd have and that we would want to work on, know what it should do, but other priorities mean that it's put on our to be date list. So yeah, return to the Mac. So it looks like not only that they're going to bring back assets that are like cut from the previous games, but also looks like they're going to go way back in the days of whenever they had showed back in Backworld, like the very first look of Halo, and just taking some of those old assets that we saw but never made it to the retail version back in 2001 and actually bring them back to life. But hopefully we might see the Blind Wolf, hopefully. Come on, technically they're actually canon if you know what I mean. So, we have managed to recover cyborgs, animation, aliens, weapons, vehicles, those from the 1989 era Halo. So using the original tags, the team has also tried to replicate the particle effects and sandbox values in the retail engine where possible. And that's not an exact science. The assets were made for the third-person perspective, but we still think these are very cool. So yeah, I gotta say, it looks like some earlier version of probably Halo's assault rifle, or let's see, some early tests of taking the third-person models and making them work retail first-person point of view. It indicates a classic shovel sniper rifle. Wait, that doesn't even look like a sniper rifle. It looks like something that I could probably see way back in World War II. Back in the day, and yes, that does mean that a plan to record with the cyborg player model is used to retail rig, including those variants never seen outside the walls of the Bungie and 343 Industries until now. So yeah, so I got the original old designs of Master Chief that was shown back in 1999, and these are not remakes; they are built from the original models and textures data. Oh yeah, now that's cool. Now we're actually getting a little taste of history right there. So and then storming the beach with the new stock armor and the needler minigun. I guess this thing shoots out needles. A surprising number of these look perfect in CE, and this is a testament to the original artist how well these assets hold up to 4K resolution. But these source assets will require a lot of processing, testing, and tag work to get in game. And huge props to the Dig Site team for rigging these models, creating new shaders from scratch, and fixing up animation edge cases. So yeah, it looks like a little work in progress. They got looks like there's a little part where you could actually sit on the vehicle. And some earlier version of the Marine holding some motherboard of things. And so yeah, and also yeah, it looks like also got probably the earlier versions of MCC that was like looks very very close to like to what we actually have to the retail version, and also got the original design right there. Man, this really gives me flashbacks. So in addition to the Macworld arrow weapons, we've also recovered the analyzed and cut sandbox items for the pre-release era, including the iterations of the plasma pistol. The plasma rifle are quite different from how they ended up in the final game, and after diligent work, we have also found multiple SMG versions. We plan to retain over-the-top muzzle flash for at least one of them. Spartans enjoying their new toys. Oh, and the microwave gun. Everybody loves the microwave gun. Is that really the microwave gun? And it doesn't even look like a microwave to me. So Robert from Dead Gods, odds and engine and all that stuff. Man, all I can say right now is like when these old versions actually become playable in the MCC in the near future, I gotta say we're gonna have a little taste of history right there. I gotta say. So used car a lot. Vehicles that we can confirm that the process of being polished and packed for the release include, but are not limited to. The original Spectre back in action with a straightforward to get in-game in basic form, but had a lot of tweaking and fixes to get everything working incorrect. And we are still a little in the dark in the full FX setup for the plasma cannon from what is introduced in 2000 era, and we'll improve on it as the additional info comes to light. Restoring and rebuilding to the physics model of the vehicle will be an entire article on its own, but the short version is the tags we first found did not have the right physics setup, and so we had to do that from scratch. And we eventually did find the intended physics JMS, but we had already made so many fixes handling the improvements that we stuck with what we made instead. The lesson here is that we are not going to use the original assets if they do not work properly in the current engine version. So yep, here it is in game, and it looks like they're testing it out. It was cut for a reason that made there are no true Southern physics in CE. But we have done some performance edits to make it more controllable and useful in multiplayer maps. And we plan on including the original vehicle tag if you want to mess with the value of bunches left in the cutting room floor. Digit Alpha has done playtesting and balancing passes on the weapon loadouts, which are ground up rebuilds, but are interested in seeing what the wider community thinks. The Kestrel will be a fun vehicle to port over Halo 3, where it can actually hang out with its development's grandkid, the Hornet. I gotta say, it looks pretty dope right there. Kind of looks like another version of the Hornet right there. Definitely. So fans of Spartan Strike Pilot and the next thing Kraken. So yeah, I'm getting a little itchy. So we are given the proper Halo name since Stealth Tank does not have quite the same flair, and after the informal naming competition, the name Viper was on top of the contender. The Dig Site crew helped with the updating everything to the current engine, and now it fills a different role in the Halo battlefield versus the Scorpion, using old tags to inform its performance characteristics, speed, ground friction, etc. The Viper's stealth features include a smaller signature on motion, trackers, and low profile to make quick flaking attacks. The powerful cannon and the recoil effects will give the Viper way after firing, so seek your fangs on the first shot. Man, I can't wait to test that out. Man, so many awesome stuff. So backlot, and some vehicles are also associated with performance tags and don't work quite right in the retail engine. And these vehicles are still being worked on, but are not yet ready for prime time, and want to take a stab at making them fully operational. But our fallback is, in quotes, let other modders work with it. Notable examples include, no, not the Halo 2 level as far as we know, this alien war machine, the Forerunner vehicle ever made. It appears early in development and on the timeline, with the first model originating from around the transition from the RTS third person, and we did do some work to bring the shaders up to retail level, but it's on the short list with our future planned releases. Yep, I gotta say, it looks like the original, probably one of the very first Forerunner vehicles right there. Looks really nice. And so when we have Dozy imported, but the water vehicles are not well supported in retail Halo C or Halo 2, Dig Site crew considered making it a jet bike, but that's probably too far into reimagined territory for our current work. But it's also not the only boat we have in the harbor or something like that. So yeah, I think I remember looking back at some of the earlier versions of Halo 3, they actually were gonna have some boat mechanic physics in the game, but they just had to scrap it. at some point. And also, so as a team made a huge progress on the vehicle and weapons, but I want to make sure that we all call out interesting characters who may soon be walking around in your games and can work out on something issues related to animation and skeletons. And so for the data hoarders out there, we are still on the lookout for a tank-based creature. To let us know if you can find that one. So Covenant Elite. Oh yeah, look, here's some of the original designs of the Elites that were like, first teased in one of the earliest trailers back in Halo. That was like teasing Halo Combat Evolved back in the day, and this is like our very first look at the Elites before we kind of got redesigned to this iconic bipeds that we know, own, and love today. And so yeah, and not only plasma rifle wielding weirdo, this is the Warrior of the Covenant, straight out of 1998, affectionately referred to as the Toad Elite, by the Dixite crew and Smileys, by old school Unity soldiers. There's the old aliens breaking out new tricks after being rigged and their shader updated. We have some other Elite related surprises to the pipe, but this was one of the most exciting for the crew. Gotta say, that they didn't make it to the final version. I gotta say, they look pretty awesome. I gotta say. Hey, so Slugman, in the past they might have retreated to the Covenant fringe, but now it is the age of Slug again. Looks like some old Covenant, some old Covenant species that actually didn't make it to the final version right there. So the work starter returns to the fighter role as a sniper in the Covenant war machine. We are exploring the possibilities of retargeting in the Elite animation to this rig, as it has similar digit whatever setup. And a little fun fact, based on the evolution of this critter and concept art, it has much closer kinship to the hunter than you might have ever realized. Oh yeah, I can tell because it got some of the iconic orange worms in there, it looks like. And also the same heads that look very similar to the hunters. So basically it's kind of like, the iconic orange worms that you just shoot in the back at the hunters. And also, looks like some of the other concepts that we probably didn't see, like in the retail version, but looks like it will make an appearance in once we, at some point in the near future. Pretty exciting stuff. So the Perpetual also made it in the critter, the Halo, from Combat Evolved to Halo Infinite, has seen some work, but promises on making these more than nice looking animated scenery. But 343E folks are looking at the source code and pre-release design docs to see if we can get more sophisticated ambient behaviors in game. Yep. And here it is. Here's the Blind Wolf, guys. Oh yeah, that's awesome. So we have a few iterations of the Blind Wolf as its insectoid partner in crime available. The AI hookups set them properly working in game, and it's still a work in progress. And their intended use in game varied over development, but the team feels confident that we get the wolves working to a level that other modders can take up in the reins, but no promises about making them rideable, although, and that's just a bug issue with retail CE we've escalated up the chain. So yeah, I think from what I remember, it looks like they were supposed to be rideable, just like how Yoshi was rideable in back in Super Mario World. And by the way, the keen-eyed lore masters out there may have noticed the eye spot on the OG Blind Wolves, where the earlier builds look a lot like the sensory organ found in Sharkboy. Curious that. And then, and I believe we're actually canon in one of the books that actually. I forgot the name of the book, but it was like one of the books that was set during the events between Halo 3 and 4, where you're like focused on where it's like set back in the arc like way back in the arc, where you're focusing on the characters that were actually playable in Halo 3's co-op mode. And if you just look at the cover of the book, then you will actually see the Blind Wolves, and they actually, and I gotta say, they were actually canon in the Halo universe, but that we still haven't seen them in game to this day. But I only saw them like in trailers, but then they just got cut out due to time and resource constraints for Halo Combat Evolved all back in the day. And I gotta say, looks like we're finally going to see those critters actually make an appearance at some point. And please, hopefully, at some point, if we're going to have campaign DLC in Halo Infinite, please include them in there as well. 0343, I'm begging you. Please. So this little BC's role, the Battlefield Corpse Disposer, was never fully implemented, but the recover model may have yet find a home in the future mods in an ambient critter, or perhaps ported to Halo 2 and Halo 3 as Boids. And did you know that we worked in the reference, but to Kill Bug in the Halo Infinite Bleach Bones coating. Interesting design right there. So geometry wrangling. So here's some of the directories that they found. So maps are are a very complicated beast, and some of the maps did not make it into retail Halo CE and were not in the state that we felt comfortably releasing, which was obviously not that much of a surprise, because if you look at some of the details, like of like the overall history of Halo Combat Evolved, yeah, multiplayer was just a little something that Bungie actually thought of the last minute, and they just like threw some random maps in there, like which are very iconic and very memorable, but but now just seeing the fact that we actually have other maps that actually did make it into the retail version, not surprised, but hey, I actually cannot wait to actually play on them at some point in the future. So there are exceptions, including the new work of the team has done. We'll bring one of the pre-release maps in Halo CE as a multiplayer arena. Cannot wait for that. So we want to do a deeper showcase of the maps later, but here's a sneak peek of our maps working in directory. So we got B2O, Dusk, Indoor, Playground, Purgatory, Race Day, Room Pain, Swamp, and Swamp Thing. Pretty cool. I gotta say, some of these titles, I could definitely imagine them actually being actual names of actual maps that you can actually expect to play on in a Halo game. Hey man, right now it's just like, man, how are they gonna actually play out and see what they're gonna look like? Man, cannot wait to see what actually unfolds in the future. So some references: B20 was a very early campaign map. We were exploring making the firefight environment. Endure is one of the Gearbox maps that didn't quite make it to the ship. Race Day was H2 working map. Car War style mode, but it was so early that it fits better in CE. Playground is our own content showcase and evaluation map. The others, well, you will soon see for yourself. So Dig Site Delta. So I'm not afraid to say that Halo 2 is my favorite Halo game, so I was very excited to work on this project, but I also find that Halo 2 editing kit H2EK is to be a joy to work in, and it's really an underappreciated gem of a toolset that got a bad rap from the old Visa edition. With that said, let's go over a few of the high points of what we are working on, and a plan to release the mod content soon. And while we are working to continue to see the treasures as a tracked Warthog variant, we do have some cool stuff as modders. Here's have fun with the campaign mods as multiplayer mayhem. And for the Mongoose, the Halo 2 Mongoose whip tags were included in the Halo 2 something tools. I'll say Halo 2 tools update a few months ago, but the savvy modders quickly discovered that it was missing various things. Well, that's because it was not a complete vehicle and cut before we had finishing work done, and there are no LOD models, for example. We have gone back and done work to get it a usable state with some of the missing assets, not including the tools released, such as Master Chief and Marine animations, and a basic damage model and miscellaneous fixes. And we are not doing a polished pass, but I think you can have fun with this vehicle, and am excited, or I think even said, and I am excited to see how people integrate into their aero mods. So yeah, I gotta say, it looks pretty cool. Looks like you got Chief riding the Mongoose right here. Now that's something that's really cool. That's something that I remember that was going to be something that they were going to include in Halo 2 behind the scenes, but they had to scrap it due to other reasons. Then they also got the Flood Juggernaut, which as we kind of dive right into this blog, they announced that the Juggernaut's going to make an appearance. I also would not be surprised, but at the same time, I'm pretty excited about it. And of course, it's actually canon if you play the DLC in Halo Wars 2, and cannot wait. And they better include that in Halo Infinite. The Flood Era makes a return in some way or form. So the Uber chassis is back in the drivable Halo 2, and the team really knocked out some of the park and amazing work here, though some ambitions were scaled by limitations on moving collision volumes, and yada yada. And we are not expecting this to be a cornerstone of the new game modes, but it was a fun project to get up and running, and I hope to see people use it in inventive ways. And I gotta say, it looks like you got the Elite and the Marine pointing at some car, or that has Chief driving into it and saying, look, there's a Spartan in the car. So no Halo 2 release would be complete without our favorite toy, Warthog. General got very ambitious and made custom Chief and RB animations for it as well. The instruments panels are also works. I gotta say, this is this is pretty funny. Just like Arbiter in a mini Warthog, very amusing. So New Moon Rising, And so, looks like we got a little concept art, some, I think might be some old Halo 02 map that actually didn't see the light of day. So we have some big surprises for folks who, for the arena maps, but I want to take a close look on a huge and early successful building of the Cut campaign map, Alpha Moon. Let's see, Alpha Moon. Oh, I never heard of that before. Portions of this map got worked into the gas mine levels, such as the boss fight against the Sessa Rafume, the Heretic Leader. The Heretic Leader, but people have never had the chance to experience this level as intended. Campaign maps require several orders of magnitude, more work in multiple maps, so being able to get this restored is a source of a real pride. I helped dig these assets up and dust them off, but most work had to be done after that, and General has done the incredible job of rebuilding this map and getting it in a playable state using as much of the original scripting as possible. So let's hear General talk about this massive talk in his own words. So this basically was going to be the original map where we were supposed to fight the Heretic Leader instead of just being that gas giant where Installation 04 used to revolve around back in the day. So Alpha Moon was an interesting beast to handle. Originally, we only had the level source data along with the scripts. We didn't have much for the level assets besides the map objects like scenery. Map files eventually turned up, but we were made during the time when Halo 2 more closely resembled Halo C in terms of file structure, along with some tag groups with no way to use them and no idea what was inside. Our dig site crew had to get very creative. Support was added to the assembly can, a tool used to analyze, decompile Halo resource file to load map files and dump tag in the JSON format. But there, the Blender toolset had a feature added to read and build the valid retail Halo 2 tag. And so that was very big, however. So the map had several problems before it was finally cut. First off, the mission was incompletable, but due to geometry reworks, errors to stretch UVs, and the incomplete vehicle and weapon assets, making some encounters not function properly. But to name a few issues that caused the asserts of failures, level wasn't that far off from being complete. But however, maybe not the retail release standards, but there's certainly as fun curiosity with that. We decided that it was worth the effort of doing some targeted fixes to not only getting it running on Halo 2 MCC, but also finalize and fix a few issues. The idea to get it running mostly as is. Ideally, you'll be able to put down the Heretic Rebellion with a friend, but we need to make sure the map is performant and won't crash MCC as single player first. And we've already fixed various geometry and UV issues on the map and are working to finish the assets as the level requires function. And what's the release date for, you may ask? Sometimes before and after the year 2552, though. We won't leave you without anything for that long. There's still work to do, of course, but did a quick co-op run with one of the dig site crew members to give you a taste of what is yet to come. So here we are, Earth City. So I gotta say, this is where we're gonna get the very good juicy details of the Halo 2 demo that we saw back in E3 2003. I gotta say, here it is. Here it goes. Of course, I got to clear my throat, of course. We teased this in a few of the shots above, but we can confirm we are working on the rebuild of the original E3 Earth City scenario that makes it playable in modern retail Halo 2. There we go. This is not a trivial process, and we should probably layer the whole page of caveats that come with the taken demo map for an engine that is no longer exists and getting it to the not blow up of the current light mapper, along with other issues that come along letting people go into areas that were never intended to be seen. So in many ways, this is a harder than Alpha Moon to work on, as it was never made to be played off script. Oh, and the scripts, well, over 3,400 lines of barely documented Halo scripts originally run under the insane time crunch almost 2 decades ago, which itself was made to work around various bugs of the engine at that time, and not a joy to decipher and translate into a modern engine, to say at the least. And we have seen things this is a programmer wouldn't believe. Things a programmer would not believe, including myself, of course, since, I also have a bachelor's in computer science. So General is its dig site foreman and technical historian in charge of the Earth City work, so it's the best to let them speak to some of the work that went into this map. This map requires a little introduction, I think, a piece of legendary content that we hope to make playable in MCC, though we cannot make promises on it being available on console. Like Alpha Moon, we originally did not have a lot of assets lying around for the map from previous analysis of leaked builds, And just like most of the source JS files and the BSP and few scenery objects, however, one of the source maps files turned out to be only the matter of time before we all had all had the data we needed. And additionally, the Corpsman and Ken helped out on the dive into murky depths of the Halo 2 source depot. Ended up with retrieving many of the source files for the demo animations that were not available in the internal redacted tag share. So remaining unaccounted data was handled by the dig site members to complete the relic and knockoff dust and that had accumulated over the years. And this took a bit of a force since the data is not valid for any of our current tools. We had to write up some of the few pipelines for dumping and converting the data from the ancient cache files, and our work was far from complete at this point. As mentioned before, where the script was in a sorry state, both the script and in the map files and the ones given into the Halo 2 editing kit are not valid for modern Halo 2. The script used for the functions that changed a bit during the Halo 2's development, they no longer function as they no longer function as they once did, or in some cases are not accepted by the compiler at all. Our dig site new crew members put in some of the long hours upgrading the scripts to work on the modern era while keeping it mostly in line with how it was intended. And scripts were not the only thing that had to be modified, and at this point, the game did not have any characters set up through variants. Each character was its own unique set of tags, such as the marine biped or the marine ODST biped, and we had to go around and script in the scenario to update it to use the modern setup to Halo 2's tags. And so here are the couple issues as well. And losing support for color gels in Halo 2 using Johnson's brief scene, but we still see what we can do work around those issues. So our end goal is to get it running in MCC and playable end-to-end and working as intended. So if you follow the presentation script, including the ghost hijack, hopefully we will even make the few things shown in the presentation a real thing by using the retail Halo 2 elements where appropriate. And this may be a shocker for some, but several parts of the demo gameplay were smoke and mirrors. I can't say where or when you'll get your hands on the final I cannot say when you'll get your hands on the final product, but I think you will find one that will be worth the wait. And so, as you can see right here, like I say, this shows just like what you saw like from the demo version, like how it's completely different from what we saw in the retail version. Well, basically, they're actually trying to bring back the demo version that we saw back in E3 2003 and actually try to make it playable what appears to be in the retail version of Halo 2. And I gotta say, it's really cool to see that actually come to fruition after all these years and just like, heard about it back in E3 2003 and then never saw the light of day until 343 Industries actually did some live stream event back in late 2018 to where they showed off the demo and showed all the other tips and tricks and other locations that was show off in the demo that we didn't see. He played it off in E3 of 2003 back in the day, and now here we are. Or it looks like the day of like actually trying out the Halo 2 E3 demo will actually come to fruition, sort of, since it's not going to be in the original engine, but it will actually be playable in the retail engine. So, and so dig site crew continues to restore every element of the original demo map and get it working properly with the Halo 2 editing kit. So, I've never seen this concept art before. Looks like concept art. So, original concept of Mombasa archaeology, Eddie Smith. This serves as one of the inspiration pieces of our work. Pretty sweet. So, with that, our first epic 3-part series of Halo's early cutting room floor comes to a close. That is quite the flood of information and nostalgia, undoubtedly reawakened the old memories of some veteran fans and probably looking like completely alien curiosity and some newer folks find themselves here. And we hope you enjoyed this look back in some of the deep Halo history, and I hope, for one, I cannot wait to see people get hands-on with it as the content comes closer to completion. Next time, we will be speaking more closely with the marvelous modders who have brought the swath of ancient content out from the depths of into the light and exploring the weapons, vehicles, levels, and alien fauna they have seen working on. And these include the Journal-_101 and other these anonymous names that you see on the internet. So until then, live well and praise Slugman. Whew! I gotta say, that was quite a mouthful of a blog, and I gotta say, a lot of awesome information, and I gotta say, this is actually makes me even more excited to actually get back and play Halo MCC even more. And towards just like, man, it's just almost a decade since MCC came out. It turned out to be nothing but a broken mess at launch. And then once we kind of went through the years and actually fixed the bugs and also include some fan favorites like Halo Reach, and now there's just even improving on it to this day. But that we thought that we just like, oh, got everything, and now we're very content. But I gotta say, looks like we've been proven wrong with this, and now we're just gonna get not only that we have like the best of all the Halo experiences on MCC as a service, but now it's almost like all the cut content that we saw never will make a light of the day. Like, honestly never thought would see the light of day, even to this day at this point. And now, after all these years, and for those who followed Halo 2 back in the day and got real excited about it, and then only to leave themselves disappointed whenever they finally got their hands on the retail version and didn't see, never got to experience the E3 demo that was shown off back in 2003. But now, looks like we're finally gonna do it, guys. And man, I could actually go on with this all day, but now at this point, I'm sure this video is like so bloody long at this point, just even longer than my normal videos I usually put out like every single day. It's just like 3 to 4 minutes. It's and all that stuff, and I gotta say, I'm so excited about this. Like, actually get to try out the original version play as the original version of Master Chief, and try some other cut content, and actually fight the original designs of the Sang Healy, that never saw the light of day. Man, so many possibilities, and actually get to explore all this space. Is just like, it'll be almost as if we are going to experience a early rough draft of Halo Infinite. It's technically open world, and so right now it looks like at least this will actually and take care of this stuff. And right now I got to go ahead and wrap this up. So hey, that's going to be it for today's video, guys. If you found it to be helpful and informative, then be sure to drop a like as always. Subscribe for more content like this. Hit the bell to be notified when my next video is going to drop, and get your own thoughts or opinions based on this recent news of what we're definitely going to expect from all this juicy content that's going to be coming to MCC in the near future. Then go ahead and sign in the comment section below, get a discussion going. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, guys, and thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.